Girls of Reddit, how do you know when a guy is genuinely good and not just trying to get into your pants? I used to think that I was kind of obligated to have with my boyfriends when they wanted it just because that was what you did in order to be a good girlfriend. A few of my exes expected, so I just complied, even if I wasn't feeling well or was tired or whatever. One day I was really sick and my current boyfriend was helping me out. I told him that I felt really bad, but I just didn't think I could have that night. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't need to have with you to love you." I learned a lesson that night about what a good man is. This is blowing my mind. I am flabbergasted by how many people have had the same/similar experiences of being pressured to engage in activity often enough that it became normalized. Not even as a hormonal, crazed teenager would I have dreamed of pressuring someone into. Maybe I need to call up my parents or something and thank them for making sure I wasn't a piece of. When he does nice things, then doesn't make a big deal out of it, because he's doing it for the sake of being a good person, rather than hoping to get something extra out of it. Like if someone gives you a lift home and doesn't mention it ever again, except to accept/reject monetary payment. Nice guys TM will give a lift home and then not let you out of the fecking car afterwards, saying, "Wow, that was a really nice thing I did for you, what are you going to do for me?" Agreed. The night I knew I'd marry my husband was before we even started dating. I knew he'd been interested for a few months, but I wasn't available and he respected that. Never pushed the boundaries I had set. One night I was working a late shift and got ready to leave at about 10 p.m. I'd been dropped off earlier in the afternoon because my dumb forgot to put gas in my car, so it was sitting on the side of the freeway about 1/2 hour drive away. I called my ride, multiple times. Nothing. I called my roommate. Nothing. Called my friend that lived in the same town. Nothing. Sent out texts. After half an hour, no replies. I knew my coworker, now husband, lived in a town between where we worked and where I lived. I decided to call up a guy I barely knew outside of work and hope he was as kind as he seemed to be. 15 minutes later he was picking me up. Of course I was embarrassed and beside myself that no one had answered my calls/texts. He drove me to the nearest 24/HR store, bought a gas jug, drove to a gas station, went in to pay for the gas, came out with a cup of coffee too, it was just turning cold out, drove me back to my car, got me squared away and followed me back to the same gas station so I could fill up in case something went wrong. Y'all, I had plenty of money, I'm just forgetful, I stated this multiple times throughout the night. He just kept saying, "You've had a long day, let me help." We get to the gas station, he fills up my tank. And came back out with a pack of the brand of cigarettes I smoked at the time. Neither of us smoke anymore, but that was part of how we bonded starting out. Me, "You didn't have to do that." Him, "You said you were out." Me, "I can buy a pack in the morning, you keep 'em." Him, "You know I don't smoke this brand." And hands them to me. We're standing there, having a smoke, wrapping up the night. And I just start tearing up and tell him, "I'm glad you exist." That's been something we repeat to each other now and then to this day. He never brought it up after that. Except years later to tell me how pissed off he was that no one came to get me. And to confess that no one had ever told him they were happy he existed, and that he was happy he hadn't decided to drink that night like he normally would have. Oh yes. I was once stranded in a ski town 20 minutes away from my hotel with no money in Austria, and a group of lads offered to pay for me to go in their taxi as they were going my way. One of them asked what I was going to do for them to pay them back about halfway through the ride. So goddamn scary, there was about 5 of them and 1 of me, so many scenarios ran through my mind. Fortunately all the other guys shouted him down and called him a bellend and kicked him out of the taxi and made sure I got back to my hotel all right. Saw them again on the slopes a couple of days later and got them all a drink, wasn't with them, they apologized to me again, we parted as friends. Edit, this was at 2 a.m. after a night out. If he remembers little details about you, like your dog's name or your sister's job, i.e., he actually pays attention when you talk. If he remembers the answer you gave when he asked what's up by following up with "oh how did insert thing you did here go." If he makes an effort to talk to you instead of just bugging you to hang out with him. If he doesn't constantly try to steer conversations towards flirting/comments. If he's perfectly fine with you not being able to hang out if stuff comes up. Those are some of the things I look for, but then again I've been fooled before. Trust your gut too. Edit. You/BZJ raised a really good argument, and I'd like to clarify the first point. It's unrealistic to expect a guy to remember every little thing about you, but if he recalls something small it proves he was paying attention. There are other ways guys can show this, like by asking more specific questions, and remembering general facts about your life. If a guy puts effort into knowing you, he's genuine. I know OP asked a gender-specific question, but I want to add that this applies to both genders. I sometimes get the feeling that people think it's only men who don't put in the effort with these things, but I try to be more attentive to this kind of thing, and so I notice that there are many women who don't do that. Men need love too. I was talking to a girl on a dating app, and in the first day of texting I realized she never once asked me a question. But she always responded right away. It didn't feel like she was ghosting me. So I decided to see how long it would take for her to either full ghost me, or ask me a question. 5 days later, she says that she doesn't feel like it will work between us because we have been texting for a week and I don't seem to know anything about you. TLDR, thank you for actually understanding that guys love it when a girl remembers little things about them. Respects your boundaries. It wasn't until my current BF that I realized my feelings of feeling weirded out by all the guys before him was justified. They always pushed when I expressed hesitation or discomfort. I told my BF I wasn't ready and he didn't make a move again for another 2 months until I was ready and initiated it myself. This is a big one. Before my husband, I didn't know that that kind of behavior wasn't okay, so I thought my boundaries were the problem. I let guys make me feel bad for not doing things for them, and I continued seeing those guys because I thought that's what I was worth. It's not what I'm worth, and my boundaries weren't the problem. The problem was always the other person who cared more about getting me to have with them than they cared about whether or not I actually wanted to do that. I knew my husband was a keeper. He had been my friend first, but we lost contact because he had a crazy girlfriend. When we reconnected she was officially his ex-girlfriend, but I had an emotionally abusive fiancé. He talked me out of it. He helped me get the courage to leave, and then he waited for me to heal. I gave him no time frame. I told him that I needed to be single before I made another commitment because he deserved to have all of me and be more than a rebound. Neither of us saw other people, we talked every day. I told him he didn't have to wait, but he insisted. When we saw each other again for the first time, he was an auto truck driver, it clicked. We were meant to be. He switched to regional driver, I went back to college, and now we're building our lives. 7 years together, 4 married. I can't get over how closely your relationship with your husband mirrors mine with my wife. I thought for sure she was writing this up to the point of him being a truck driver. She got out of a bad relationship, told me almost the exact same things you told your husband, and he responded exactly as I did. We've been together 7 years, married 4, just like you. Crazy awesome how 2 couples can have nearly the exact same experiences. Much love from us to you too, for the sheer awesomeness of the parallels. That is amazing. I wish you two a lifetime of happiness.